Hello friends, this is Terry here to talk to you today about Chiron in Aries transit. Chiron in Aries going retrograde on July 23rd. Just as I'm recording this on July 23rd, this retrograde will go all the way to December. So I didn't nail it. I didn't get it out before the retrograde started, but don't worry, you'll be feeling it for many, many months to come if you're just watching this. And Chiron entered Aries on February 18th, 2019. For many of us that were born between January 30th of 1969 all the way through May 27th of 1976, we are having our Chiron return. Actually, I know a few people who were born later in 1976 who also have Chiron return happening. They also have Chiron in Aries, and that is because Chiron, even after it moves into Taurus, can retrograde back. So really, all the way through 1977, you may have Chiron in Aries. And when Chiron returns to the place it was when you were born, this can cause a kind of healing crisis. A lot of deep wounds come up to be healed. Sometimes it could be repressed trauma, maybe from your childhood. Sometimes we have trauma, we don't even remember the situation because it was so painful, and we stuff it. And then when we have this Chiron in Aries return, all those deep wounds come to the surface to finally be processed and healed. And I like to say this is the healer, heal thyself transit. And when Chiron stations retrograde, he is so powerful. This is when he's really feeling his power. I feel like as a Chiron in Aries myself, I'm really feeling his power today as I'm filming this. It's just like there's a shift in the energy and the focus is healing now. And even if you're not having a Chiron return, even if Chiron is in another sign for you, I'm sure you're still feeling the effects, as we are all feeling Chiron in Aries, because Chiron is exalted in Aries. It's his favorite place to be. As the world has been Chiron in Aries since 2019, and it's going to be a full 8-year transit, 8-year transit. So we're talking till 2027. We're soaking in Chiron in Aries, and he has probably had a hand in this whole COVID situation we had. Remember, it was COVID-19 because it was really discovered in 2019, and that is exactly when Chiron entered Aries. So Chiron in Aries, that wounded warrior healer, coming in so strong now as he stations retrograde on July 23rd. And we always feel planets a little more intensely when they first station retrograde. It's like they are almost like they're closer to the earth, just like when we have super moons and the moon is closer in perigee to the earth. When planets station retrograde, their energy can just be felt so strong. So if you do have Chiron in Aries, I imagine you're feeling it. And for all of us who have Chiron in Aries, it's been difficult going through this time of having our deepest wounds pulled up to the surface. And we always repeat what we don't repair. That's something that I really learned with my psychology degree. And then it was emphasized again in massage and bodywork and Reiki. We will repeat what we don't repair. So if you don't repair the wounds as they surface now, you're just going to continue to repeat the patterns over and over again. And we also have right now a Pluto retrograde in Capricorn squaring that Aries North node. And that is also another transit that is telling us to do the work to repair the trauma, repair your subconscious, repair your unconscious, get rid of your limiting self-beliefs, or you will just keep repeating these patterns that aren't working for you. And Chiron's biggest wounds are about abandonment. So we might all be having feelings of abandonment now and feeling that we're not worthy, which ties in so well with Venus retrograde in Leo that wants to be special. And that's a whole nother reading too. We have so many retrogrades and really intense energy going into the fall of 2023. But Chiron's initial wound came from the abandonment by his mother, who was terrified by his appearance because he was born half man, half horse. Chiron, the centaur. And there is a deep connection to horses for those with strong Chiron. And we may see a lot of equine therapy, horse therapy. I know some incredible healers where I live in Oregon who do this kind of equine horse therapy where you can go out and commune with horses for healing. That will probably become really popular during this next few months while we're in Chiron retrograde. And Chiron was raised by the gods of light and reason, Apollo and Athene, and they chose Chiron for his wild nature and the fact that he was a centaur. I mean, for them, that was the most exciting thing. It was the opposite of abandonment. They chose him because he was half man, half horse, and they wanted him to be their student, and they wanted to teach him all about healing and becoming that wounded warrior healer that we know Chiron to be now. So Chiron became an alchemist because he brought together man and horse, nature and the divine, matter and spirit, and he can create something greater. Just like you do with alchemy, you can take lead and turn it to gold, and that was what Chiron was all about. You could give Chiron something meager, and he would turn it into something great. So during this Chiron retrograde, we can rise above from healing our inner deepest wounds, from healing our limiting beliefs and doubts and feeling unworthy, and then we can become something bigger for having done the work, right? And Chiron became this incredible teacher. He loved to take in orphans after he had been saved and healed and taken in as an orphan. He could really resonate with that. So this is a real time when we might see like more focus on taking care of the children, something that really needs to happen. And Chiron lived in a cave, and he took in these orphans, and he taught Orpheus, the great musician, who made trees weep and rocks melt with his melodies, and he taught him how to play the lyre. And to Asclepius, who became the god of healing, he taught him medicine. And he taught Jason of the Argonauts how to sail the seas and how to read maps. All of these people were orphans, and he also brought up Castor and Pollux, which is we see as the stars of Gemini, and they were also abandoned, and they were born of two different fathers, and so they were abandoned because of that. So I would say Chiron has had a hand in child psychology as well, as he's taking on all these orphans. It was kind of like the Chiron group home, really. And he loved to take in kids who were cast off, just like he was. And Chiron helped these kids to find their gifts and their true callings, and he helped to make something of these children. And so Chiron is our healing guide now to help us, each and every one of us, find our own true gifts, our own true healing in this time of Chiron retrograde. And we must admit our need to be helped, just as the orphans had to admit that they needed help. And Chiron is not just a healer, but a powerful mentor and teachers of the true way to become a warrior. and a warrior of light. And when Chiron gets in Aries, Chiron is exalted in Aries. That's where he really does his powerful healing and his powerful warrior of light energy. We need to cultivate this kind of initiation into the light. It reminds me of getting a Reiki attunement. I'm teaching a Reiki for Abundance class tomorrow. And in that class, I give each student a Reiki attunement so that they can be a light bearer. And I am sure Chiron probably had his hand. In fact, it was in 1970, I believe, that Reiki really came on the forefront as a healing modality. And I'm sure that had to do with the last Chiron in Aries return we had was, back in the 70s when all these people who are having Chiron return were born. So Chiron is going to bring a lot of healing and wellness, and there will be a focus on the wellness industry even during this Chiron retrograde. And Chiron was a big fan of doing rites of passage, saying that rites of passage were essential for these orphans that he helped. And so there was an implication of that you would go through that death, transformation, rebirth in a rites of passage. And we are seeing that with that Pluto squaring Aries right now. And we just went through 2 years of Scorpio eclipse, Scorpio Taurus eclipses, also kind of tied into that rites of passage. And this initiation, this rites of passage initiation implies entry into something new and bigger, which also ties so well into that Aries nodal axis that we're on. I just recorded my Aries Libra nodal axis. If you haven't checked it out, it's got a yin yang on the cover. I'll leave it down in the descriptions. This is a powerful time with that Aries new energy to initiate something new, brand new. And a Chiron in Aries retrograde calls one to unlock the sacred warrior teachings that really reside within each and every one of us, especially if you have that Chiron in Aries. If that's in your chart, then you definitely have healing. And go on a quest. Go out into nature. Go on a quest and try to tap into your own inner wounded warrior healer and see what comes forth. A really good time for journal writing to just see what comes up. And I like to do automatic writing sometimes where I just write not really knowing what I'm going to write and just see if spirit will talk through the pen. I do that when I'm doing astrology charts. I do this kind of soul writing, I call it. And Chiron has if you ever look on the astrology, I'll see if I can dig it up. He has one of the most chaotic orbits of all time. It is pulled in by Saturn, the planet Saturn's gravity, like a magnet to Chiron. And it represents our wounds as being karmic teachers. But because Chiron is pulled by Saturn, his orbit goes very erratic. And so when he's going in a retrograde, there can be this erratic energy of I'm not really sure where I'm supposed to go or what I'm supposed to be doing. We can all feel a little off kilter during a Chiron in Aries transit. And if you were born between 1969 and May of 1976, then you will be feeling this retrograde. You will just want to see what house it is in your astrology chart, because wherever it shows up, that can be where things are going to come up that need to be healed. And for me, I have my Chiron in Aries in the 8th house of sex, death, and money. I mean, what doesn't need to be healed in that area? And it also rules over taxes, and I hope I don't have to do any tax healing, but who knows? And it could be possible if you've had a baby born from 2019 to now, they're going to have Chiron in Aries, and so this is something that they're going to have to deal with too. But wherever you have Chiron in Aries, it's asking you to tap into your own inner light, because you are a warrior of light. That's what Chiron in Aries is all about, becoming a warrior of light. And a warrior of light is never predictable. Just as Chiron in Aries, we can't really even predict what this retrograde will bring, because a warrior of light is never predictable, and he is not afraid to weep over ancient sorrows or to feel joy in new discoveries. A warrior of light does not spend his days trying to play the role that others have chosen for him. He will forge his own path ahead. And that quote about a warrior of light is from Paulo Coelho. I just love his writing. He wrote The Alchemist. I think that came from The Alchemist. And so we will be forging a new path ahead, which is all about that Aries nodal axis north node that is happening. And at some point, this nodal axis just might come together with Chiron in Aries and conjunct. I'm pretty sure if he goes all the way back and Aries is going forward, it's going to conjunct. I don't have the exact dates. I haven't really charted that yet. But Chiron in Aries is all about your deepest wounds. And I would say it can definitely tie into the ancestral wounds as well. So this is a time to do your ancestral healing as well. And things that come up to be healed, it can even be about past lives. Whenever we have Pluto retrograde and Saturn retrograde, I've done readings. You'll have to go back. I'll link in description with so many retrogrades. Venus retrograde, Saturn retrograde, Pluto retrograde, Jupiter retrograde. Later, Uranus is going retrograde. We are in retrograde season right now. But when Pluto and Saturn go retrograde especially, we have past life karma, past life trauma coming up. And I really do believe in this. I've seen people actually carry pain and wounds from past lives that will come up to be released in a Reiki class. I always remember one of my clients who had severe low back pain. She went to so many doctors, surgeons, everybody said, there's nothing wrong with you. We cannot find anything. You're perfectly healthy. She was only 25 years old. She was in excruciating pain all the time, so much pain. And she just wanted somebody to believe her. And she came and got Reiki from me, and then she took my Reiki class. And it was in a Reiki class when we all had hands-on healing her that she had a past life memory of being crushed by a horse and carriage, and the horse is trampling her sacrum, low back area. And so all the pain that she had been experiencing, even in her perfectly healthy, doctor said, there's nothing wrong with you body, all of that pain and trauma came from a past life of being trampled by a horse and carriage. I just think that's so fascinating. And that is the kind of thing that we might be having with this Chiron in Aries retrograde. Pay attention to what shows up for you in dreams, visions. Go get the healing. This is a time. Healer, heal thyself. Get the body work. Get the Reiki, distance Reiki, energy, all the things. Do all the healing, all the self-care. And pay attention to who shows up for you too, because we may have some past life regression people showing up. Maybe some, if you fall in love now, it could be somebody from a past life or something. Chiron in Aries retrograde is also asking us to uncover just anything that you haven't dealt with psychologically, anything that really needs to be felt and released. So this is a good time to do energy clearing. If you've ever had an energy, I do like distance pendulum energy clearings, and you can use an energy clearing to just clear out those old blocks and old feelings and emotions that stagnate within your body. And your deepest wounds are truly your deepest gifts. When you can really embrace it, and there can be some amazing gifts that come from a Chiron in Aries retrograde. If you will just embrace that your deepest wounds carry your deepest gifts, really do the work. And what else do I want to say about this? You know, Earth Day was invented during a Chiron in Aries, so I'm hoping that when Chiron in Aries goes retrograde, we can have a little more focus on our Earth issues, that the Earth is really calling us to pay attention, and everybody's just looking on their phones and scrolling. So we may even have some kind of Earth-related issues, especially if we get Uranus and Taurus involved. And Chiron in Aries was also involved in martial arts too, as that the term martial arts refers to the warfare of Mars, and Aries is a planet ruled by Mars. So there can be this really intense, I think there can be some angry energy that can come up. And if you've ever known somebody who's going through processing their trauma, or they're going through therapy, sometimes the first emotion that comes up can be rage. So just be careful of your rage and how to express it in healthy ways. I like when I used to work with teens and they were experiencing a lot of rage, we loved to take buckets of ice cubes and just throw the ice cubes because they just wanted to break something. So if you do have some Chiron and Aries retrograde rage comes up, I highly recommend get yourself a bag of ice and just go out and break every ice cube. It feels really good. It sounds silly, but it works. And that we will all be feeling all the feels this Chiron in Aries. There's no way to avoid it. Even if you aren't a Chiron in Aries, but for those of you born between 1969 and 1976, hold on to your hat. The wounds are coming up to be healed. So you will be feeling it most of all. But we all have Aries somewhere in our chart. So pay attention to where 6 degrees of Aries is. Oh, that's the North Node. I'm getting my wires crossed, but the Chiron in Aries is still in that house of Aries. So this whole next 2 years, pay attention to what is going on for your Aries house. Use crystals. Those are always good. I love to have a crystal in my pocket for healing, and do the work. Become the warrior of light that you are meant to be, because really under this retrograde, it's unavoidable anyway. So do your work, do your healing, and stay tuned for the next transit. If you like, comment, and subscribe, you will be in it to win it for my next full moon Pisces astrology chart giveaway. Thanks for watching.